Hey guys, welcome to Curling Class. My name is Matt Bean, instructor here at Curling Class. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about sweeping. But I'm not going to talk about how to sweep. There's plenty of videos out there on how to sweep and how to get the maximum force on your brush head and things like that. What I want to talk about today is when to sweep. And so this is an often overlooked part of sweeping that a lot of sweeping courses, pass over. But knowing when to sweep is just as important as knowing how to sweep. So let's get started. Okay, so today I am using the cool curling shuffleboard table that I got for COVID, just so I feel a little bit better about all the clubs around my city being closed. I can do a little curling at home, so it's pretty fun. Thought I'd make a couple videos using the table. So what I'm going to do is just throw one, let's say top 12. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, going to the 8 foot. That's fine. And what's cool about this table is you can adjust the amount of curl. So I've really reduced the curl just for the last few games that I was playing with my son. It was really fun. So what I want to talk about are the three zones. We have zone A, zone B, and zone C. So let's say, for example, that my opponent throws a center guard and I want to come around that guard. In a previous video, I talked a little bit about, 5 tips to becoming a better curler, and one of them is communication. So that is one of the most important aspects of making shots is communication with your entire team. So I know that the shooter usually gets all of the glory for the shots that they make, especially lightweight shots, making it just perfectly. But really the glory should go to the entire team, and especially the sweepers if they are judging the stone's weight correctly and communicating with the skip on the line of delivery as well. So what we want to do here, I'll put a link to the 5 tips to becoming a better curler, but one of the tips is the person delivering the stone needs to give some piece of information to the sweepers as they release the stone on the hog line. Now at that point, the sweepers will know or should know within a few feet if the stone is heavy or light. And so using the Furby system, as I covered in a previous video, they can communicate that weight to the skip, and the skip can then communicate back to the front sweeper in the open position if the stone is on the line of delivery, if it's on the broom, or if it's inside or outside. And so then the sweepers can use that information. And this all has to happen very quickly, within a second, really. As quickly as you can, within a couple seconds, down to a second, as fast as you can, because the sweepers need to know, with that information from the skip, should we be sweeping in zone A, zone B, or zone C. So let's say we're on the broom, but we're a little bit light. What are we going to do as sweepers? Are we going to wait until the end to start sweeping? No. What we have here is an asymmetrical path. And so to the skip, as the person's delivering the stone will appear to just be running straight. That's because it primarily is, or even falling outside the broom. That's because it is. And so as we hit B, zone B, this is what we'll call the breaking point. So this is when it starts to turn, starts to lose its rotation and start to turn inside, and in zone C is when it starts to go sideways, as they say. And so if you're finishing a rock, and that's where the term finishing the rock comes, is as it's moving sideways, if we need it to go further and continue to curl more, we will finish the rock here in zone C. But let's just say we're a little bit light, we're on the line, we're on the broom, we're just a little bit light. Sweep your butts off as much as you think that needs to be done, reevaluating at zone B, getting close to the break point, and if you think you're on it, then you can get off at that point, and you've basically just extended the length, the distance that the stone is going to travel without really affecting how much it's going to curl. If we know that we are outside and light, for example, so we're outside the broom, the skip says you're outside, or the person delivering the stone says I'm a little bit outside, they both agree. We know we're outside, we're a little bit light. What are we going to do? I would recommend not sweeping just yet, waiting until we get a little bit closer to that breaking point, depending on how light you are, of course. I mean, if you're 15 feet light, then it really doesn't matter. But, as you start getting better, you're not going to be that far off. Because as you get to that breaking point, Then you start sweeping for distance and curl. And now as it starts to break and we start getting into zone C, we're sweeping for distance and it's going to curl more. So we may have been wide, but we waited for it to hit that breaking point, then we got down on it, and now it's going to extend the distance and the curl. So let's say we have the correct weight, but we're inside the broom just a little bit. What do we do then? We don't want to crash on the guard. So if the person delivering the stone says, oh, I'm a little bit inside, Skip says, you know, gives his hand signal or whatever it is to indicate that inside the broom a little bit. Do we start sweeping now? We have the right weight, the weight's there. What we want to do is wait until we start to get close to that breaking point. Then start sweep, 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 sweep. Extend that breaking point as much as possible. As soon as it starts breaking, you're pretty much done for. You have to get off of it because the weight was correct. It's just the line was bad. So, I mean, unless you want to sweep it to the back of the house, of course. But in order to extend that breaking point, you need to start just before the breaking point and then through as much as possible. And once it starts breaking, then just get off of it, because the more you sweep, more than likely the more it's going to curl and you can crash on the guard or just sweep it through the back. Here's another example that a lot of curlers, especially club curlers, don't know, is that if you're throwing a guard, for example, and I see this all the time, they'll say, all right, let's say it's over curling and we want to guard, let's say this is our stone, our red stone. So we're throwing another red stone and we want to set up another guard here, like a mid guard, and it's going to over curl. So a lot of times what skips, new skips or players will do is they'll try to start sweeping to keep it straight. But after you have reached that breaking point, the more that you sweep, the further it's going to travel, of course, on that line and curl more. And so then you're going to be leaving your shots open, or leaving your stones open and not lined up properly. So a lot of times you'll hear curlers say over and off. What that means is it's over curling. So just make sure that it's over the hog line and then just get off of it, because we want it to stop. We want it to stop in front of the stone that we're trying to guard. And so that might even be the case if we had one in the house and it's starting to over curl. A lot of times curlers will sweep, 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 trying to keep it straight. But all we're doing is continuing to allow it to move further and further out of the way for our opponents. So once you've passed that breaking point, continuing to sweep will make it continue to curl. So just get off of it at that point. So a lot of experienced skips, they usually will throw the stone a few feet lighter from where it needs to be. That's because they have experienced sweepers. And so their third should be able to read the line well, and they have very good sweepers. So they're going to throw it, maybe a couple feet light, 3-4 feet light, because the sweepers communicating with the third should be able to get it to the position that it needs to be. And so if you're constantly communicating on whether you're wide, inside, light, heavy, you can use these zones to know when to sweep the stone. So let's recap. Zone A is where we want to sweep for distance without affecting the curl as much. Zone B is where we want to extend the breaking point so it doesn't start to come in, so we can get around a guard if necessary, so it doesn't start to break as early. In Zone C is when it's already past its breaking point and we want to finish it, as it were, and continue to make it move to try to get it behind the guard or to a position where we want it to continue to curl more. So I hope this helps you to understand a little bit more about when to sweep. And I know it's a little bit more advanced than we're used to at the club level, but hopefully you can communicate this with your team and start making a few more shots, especially with the 5 tips on how to become a better curler, which I'll link below. And you'll all be on the same page when it comes to when do we need to sweep, not just how do we need to sweep.